Riders on the storm, riders on the storm. Into this house we're born, into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone. And good evening, everyone. It's great to be back behind the mic and on the Cert Presents show. My name is Lou Bruno. I'm your long-lost host. I've been missing in action. But I am back tonight, and my pleasure and privilege always to be with our senior advisor and consultant, the chief himself, Terry Cox. How are you, Terry? You're looking good.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I missed the last Cert Show, and then we were going to get one on last week, but all of our guests that we wanted to talk about what was going on in Texas, we're busy. So
with the flood,
and again, there's a lot of relief. Cert teams from all over, aid teams, response teams.
This week
from all over.
We got the earthquake in Alaska.
Yeah, I saw that. There was,
etc.
But luckily there was no tsunami.
My kids just got home.
Oh, they were up there?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad they made it out without any. I didn't hear any damage reports or anything.
It was only a 2-foot tsunami.
Oh, okay. Well, that is good to hear.
Yeah.
That I was when I saw it, I was catching a live stream of some emergency reports, and almost as I got into it, they said tsunami warnings are down. So that was certainly good. But good to see you again. And I have seen her, but not in studio. Jill Hughes, our contributing editor.
Good evening. Yeah.
How are you?
Good.
We were along with some other people. We're out at Independence Grove the other night for the American English Tuesday
Very
night
warm, concert.
Yes, it was. It was hot and humid that night.
I felt so bad for those guys in their black suit jackets and everything. It was just so uncomfortable, but they did great. They did great.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about the concert series out there before, and great opportunity for people to get out, and we ran into so many people. Well,
about 3,000 of them.
Yeah, about 3,000. Sort of a real local Ravinia, although Ravinia's in Lake County, as we all know.
Right.
But, the Forest Preserve is in Libertyville, and they have a couple more concerts on Tuesday night before the series ends.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of fun. Well, God, there's certainly been a lot of things going on since these last few weeks. The rain just seems to keep coming heavy, creating floods, emergency situations. And I hope everybody's taking note of what goes on, and especially, what people can do to help, how you can volunteer your time. Obviously, donations help, food, etc. Pets need help. Keep that all in mind with what's coming up. But as we all know, in the history of the Cert Presents show for 10 years, it's a constant battle to keep Lou quiet, especially because, once again, I mean, we have some extraordinary people in studio, and what is amazing between Terry Cox and one of our returning great guests, Chief Tim Sasko. How are you, Tim?
I am doing fine, Lou. It's great to see you.
How many years do you guys have combined in firefighting and response?
Let's see, Terry. North of a century and then some.
Yeah.
I would probably venture to guess over 100 years between the two of us.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were recollecting that Tim's been on frequently during our 10 years, and he first came on just when he was retiring from Mundelein fire chief, and he's been busy ever since.
You know, it gets too boring to sit around and do nothing. So
I,
gotta
I
keep
hear you. I
contributing.
know.
Make sure all the
Um,
synapses are connecting.
Let's see, Lake County Department of Public Health.
Yes, sir.
And then the rucksack program is through what, or the event rucksack?
The event, Lake County Veterans
Is
Family
Lake
Services
County.
Foundation.
There you go.
Long name.
And I didn't even know. And because of the man on my left, who I recently met because he joined our CERT team, and welcome for his first appearance, and hopefully not last on the CERTs Presents. So, Mark Studala. And Mark joined our Fremont CERT team about a year ago. And at some point, I forget when, he mentioned that he was also a park ranger out on Diamond Lake through Mundelein Park District. And I lived in Mundelein for 30 years. Excuse me, I didn't hear the program. And then, of all people, that he said it was involved in, I go, Tim Sasko. I go, where does Tim find the
Like
time?
a bad penny, I show up everywhere. Right?
Because on top of that all, you've been known to drive old number one, the Mundelein Historic fire truck on occasions, which is celebrating his 100th birthday this year.
That is. It's been an exciting year for that. So to think of it, to have something that's a piece of memorabilia that's 100 years old is just remarkable. So
I'm still working.
great credit. Yeah. Great credit to the committee that works on that.
Yeah, no, they do
That is
a great
beautiful.
job.
Yeah.
And we had them here earlier in the year. They were
We
on air.
did. Yep. Very interesting.
So, and really the whole town is proud of it, which is, you seldom find anything nowadays that everyone is agreement on. And an extraordinary story how it got back to Mundelein after many years. But I'll leave it to you guys. As I said, I didn't know the program existed through the Park District for the rangers out there on the lake. And Mark, I'm gonna throw it to you first, since this is your first appearance. So you'll get to go first. But you recently joined our CERT team. You had a career in business, right?
Yes, I did. I was with Allstate Insurance Company for about 28 years. Retired a few years ago, and since then, I've been trying to stay busy. And so, when I noticed the course for CERT, which offered free training and the opportunity to help the community, I just thought that would be a great opportunity. And then it supplements the work we do on the lake as well.
All right. Well, we thank you. You've done a wonderful job since you've been involved in CERT, and you brought a lot of the organization to it, which is not my strong point. I'm sort of a fly by the pants guy. Most lawyers, I'm a typical lawyer. Like, okay, what case am I on today? Okay, yeah, well, we'll figure it out. What's the defense on it? But you're doing a great job for us in CERT, and we can talk about that on another occasion, because there's just so much to talk about the program. When you guys started telling me about it, I go, wow, what have you been up to? But who wants to say how it all got started? Go ahead.
Sounds good.
I'll tender
I'll
to you,
jump
and let
in.
Jill and Terry ask the questions.
And then, let Mark go in from there. So I got involved with the program, again, one of those you're trying to find something to do in quasi-retirement back in 2017, the summer of 17. So I've been at it for a little while. It's really was born from, unfortunately, a tragedy on the lake. I don't really know exactly the when factor of it, but we unfortunately had a loss of life on Diamond Lake. And there was a period of time where patrolling was going on by the Mundelein Police Department. And then because the Park District literally owns 80% of the body of water, it became something that the park board decided to take on their own and create this boat ranger program. When I got involved, I actually wanted to be a ranger on a golf course for the Park District. And they said, well, you owned a boat. We might have a different job for you. So my wife and I had a boat on Lake Michigan for many years. So I jumped into it, and I wanted to work the first year to kind of get acclimated as to what was going on out there. And as Mark will fill in a little bit here about what our program's all about, It really is. And our executive director, Ron Salsky, and Margaret Resnick that preceded him have brought up the fact that not too many communities have such an asset. And the fact that we have this really is something that's, of notoriety for the village, but, the residents and the visitors alike, because we have a lot of people that use the lake that don't even live on the lake. And a majority of the lake property actually in the periphery is in Lake County. So we have even the joint responsibility. And we just did a recent training, I think a week ago, last night, we had a training with the Lake County Sheriffs and the Lake County or Mundelein Police Department. And that actually sparked the fact that the other day, the Lake County Sheriffs actually had their 2 jet skis out on, or personal watercraft. I guess jet skis is a thing of the past, but had their personal watercraft.
They're fading.
Out there.
They're fading.
And they're going to do spot work with us. And again, it's more from an educational perspective. And maybe Mark, you can talk a little bit about that, about just, what we're trying to do on the lake and what the goals are.
Well, I kind of think of it as a twofold thing. Number one, which is an obvious thing, is the safety. We're out there looking to help people, remind them of the things to do to be safe and courteous to others. But we also want to make sure that our guests, which we consider all the boaters and swimmers and everybody else to be, we want them to have a great opportunity and to enjoy the lake. And so it's, I thought it'd be difficult to separate the quote enforcer role from the welcoming role, but I'm finding people are very appreciative of the Rangers. They give us a lot of good feedback, and they're very cooperative.
I think they're very important. I had an occasion, I used to take my kids there all the time, probably 30 years ago. We lived in Mundelein, and I was in charge of 2 children. One of them was mine, one was a friend of his. And, they blow the whistle and all the kids come out and everything. And of course, the friend of mine, the child was not there. And that is a horrible feeling. It's a horrible feeling. And of course, they called the Rangers and everything. And he just wandered off, was reading a book over the other side of the lake and didn't even know to tell me he was over there. But they were there really fast, and they really helped us out. And it was a scary moment. So I was very thankful that they were there.
Yeah, that sense of presence is really important to us. Mark is he is our senior ranger that's on the lake and does a lot of the training for us. We get started in the beginning of the season in May. And because it is a seasonal job, we do get some turnover. We've been very fortunate that Mark and one of our other rangers have stayed with us for quite a few years because there is an extensive amount of training. And Mark was part of a team recently where we just designed a complete training manual. And we're going to tune it up as we go. I think it's a live document. So that we're prepared. There's a lot that goes into boating. It is a navigable waterway. It does have DNR precedents. So at that point in time, there are enforceable rules. We don't tend to do that unless we see something that's, really out of line. It is, a lot of people are not aware of the fact that it's a dry lake, which is unique to Lake County because it is the only body of water that has operating motorboats on it, to the extent of the size of motors and things like that, that is dry. The whole chain of lake system is not that way. Lake Michigan is not that way. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic to manage, not only with obviously our visitors on a daily basis, but even a lot of the homeowners who don't know that it's a dry lake. They've been told, but they seem to forget that part of it every now and then. So it is a small body of water. So what Mark and the team do are really critical to just daily operations. We're combined with Diamond Lake Beach. The lifeguard system, as you remember, as Jill mentioned, so it's an important cycle that we work with. Now, Diamond Lake Beach has not been as operable as it normally has been in the past, and the Park District, if you guys coming from Mundelein in the general area, there is a lot going on right now with a whole redesign and community involvement with what the front end of Diamond Lake is going to look like in the near future. And there's been a lot of talks about boardwalks and things like that. There's, private property that has to be negotiated and those types of things. But because of the value of that it brings to the Park District Board, to the Park District staff, it's really something, again, that to have a lake that you can go to that's clean. We from the Lake County Health Department, we do monitor water qualities and things like that. So it's truly an asset for all the community to enjoy.
Yeah. I just wanted to jump in a little bit of the wider perspective because, I know Terry's been involved in it. So many of our other guests, in fact, a current Mundelein chief, is also big in terms of boating safety and the dive team. But throughout Lake County, hence our name, there's, any number of navigable bodies of water. And we're very fortunate that the fire departments locally pitch in for either specialized units or the Lake County Marine unit. And we've had those guys on, and they're wonderful.
Yeah, they're great.
They're terrific. So it was nice to hear that you guys were out there training. And I remember a few years back, I guess, some of you may recall, of a lot of the alcohol-related incidents on chain of lakes. So it's good to hear that there aren't any possibility of that on Diamond Lake. That is encouraging.
Yeah, it was interesting in the training that we did last Wednesday night. We had the sergeant from the Marine unit, and then one of their leads, and mentioned, I don't know, Mark, that's right, you were out of town, you missed that, but they mentioned that even for them over the 4th of July weekend, while they had a lot of stops, if you want to call it that, along the way in managing, people operating their boats the right way, they only had 1 or 2 actually DUI type of incidents out of hundreds of stops they've made. So I think in general, people are being a lot safer. I mean, I'm not on the chain of lakes, but that was very encouraging, quite frankly, to hear that it is not a predominant part of their responsibilities, or let's just say outcomes of what they face when they have encounter boat owners. That most of it is regulatory with fire extinguishers and the proper flotation devices and those types of things, gunnel riding, and we do the same thing. That's a lot of where maybe, Mark, you can talk about how we try to assist, with launches and what people are doing as far as some of the regulations with gunnel riding and things like that.
Yeah, probably the biggest thing that helps be a safe lake is the cooperation of the boaters. And they're very welcoming of the comments we make right from the launch. We try to get them off and away from the dock safely. Obviously, while they're out on the lake, there are numerous different types of boats and other users on the lake. We have boats pulling skiers and other toys. We have stand-up paddle boarders, we have fishermen, and they all have a different use of the lake. And they all seem to be cooperative and cognizant of the other users on the lake who may not have their type of boat. For example, if it's a big boat, it puts up quite a wake, then that will ruffle the waters for the paddle boarders.
Paddle boarders, yeah.
It is a donut hole.
Yeah. But for the most part, they stay away from the area that the paddle boarders are in, and we really do appreciate that kind of cooperation.
Yeah, we saw post-COVID the amount of, or during COVID, actually, boat sales went up.
Yeah.
Paddle boards went up, kayaks went up. I think we're still seeing quite a lot of the paddle boarders for exercise and kayaks and things like that. In general, even with the sheriff's office last week when we talked, boating is down substantially. I think everybody had the big surge during COVID, and then they realized that it's one of those big holes you throw a lot of money into as a former boat owner. And I think at that point in time, people started to back down. And I will tell you, the activity, I would think, Mark, you would agree, is a lot slower this year than it has been in years past. During the weekdays and stuff, we would see a lot of, we have a launch system where you can register your, whatever it is, personal watercraft or boat. You don't have to be a resident of Mundelein. And we see a lot of day activity. It seems like the day activity has slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, I think it has. But for anybody who's put off by the cost of boating, they should consider becoming a ranger. I go out on sunny days, and there are nice people out there, and somebody else pays for my gas.
I asked them to put that plug in, Louis.
Now, I'm always fascinated by the equipment that the various departments or police, fire agencies, obviously have. So, do you guys actually have a boat? They're owned by the department, or
it's owned by the park district.
Okay.
We actually have Old Nelly, the one that we originally started with. That I don't know if anybody wants to put in the water, but now we have a 16-foot skiff with a 60-horse motor, and it's outfitted with emergency lighting, but it's more of a courtesy situation where activating it just means we need to get your attention. It is not an adjudication process where we're trying to arrest people, which we have no authority to do. Now, we do have the authority, though, to issue various fines against the ordinances. There's an extensive ordinance that the Park District adopted, and we've modified probably 4 times now since I've been there. As different topics and issues come up, we've made modifications to that. So the Rangers do have the authority to be able to contact Mundelein Police or Lake County Sheriff in the event we see somebody who is operating under the
the lawyer in me was about to ask. But first of all, I want to say, everybody, you're listening to the Cert Present Show on 98.3, the Life FM community radio for Lake County. I may have not said that at the beginning, so let me thank all the people now that I should have at the beginning, because I was so happy to see everybody on it. But of course, Fremont Township, who sponsors our CERT program and allows us to be here now for 10 years, wonderful years with some real good people. Lake County Department of Health, who's always been a supporter of the show, Lake County EMA, Citizens Core Council, everybody here at 98.3 The Life. You can get us and tonight, Terry and Jill and Mark and Tim. You can get us on YouTube since we've been in our new studio, and you can. I know you'll hear this show and want to watch it again. So all our shows are archived on YouTube, live stream on Twitch TV. Talking too fast here. Yes. Talking too fast here. Worldwide, you can listen to us on TuneIn Radio, Radio Garden. What else am I missing, Jill?
Did we say TuneIn Radio?
Yeah, TuneIn Radio.
Right.
So
many ways to listen.
I got that all in, so I'll get back to the guest. And the lawyer in me wanted to jump in here, and Tim touched on it and Mark touched on it about operating under the influence of alcohol, which in the state of Illinois is a Class A misdemeanor, as is driving under the influence of alcohol. And I know, I see a few cases in court every year, not as much as we used to, luckily.
Well, that's good.
On it. But Mark, as part of your training, were you trained for finding out or determining if there's probable cause to believe somebody's operating under the influence?
In the 5 years I've been on the lake, I've only had one occasion where became an issue, and that issue was a boat that was placarded for about 12 people on board, had about 28 people on board, and they were falling off. So that occasioned me to go over and suggest that
that was your first clue, right?
They might be doing something.
Terry's smiling there. You've had that experience, Terry?
Flashback to your youth, huh, Terry? So.
That's dangerous. That is so dangerous. Yeah.
Well, and Terry, when you were chief at Lake Forest, you had a boat too. Lake Forest still operates a boat, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, mutual aid is the name of the game.
Oh, right.
Oh, without a doubt. That's something we do every year. We're a little bit behind this year with the season already creeping up to the end. I mean, we usually start to run out of boaters about the 3rd or 4th week of August, but we will train, as Terry bringing up mutual aid, Countryside Fire Protection District and Mundelein Fire Department both respond on an automatic or a still alarm in the event that we have a reported drowning. We had an incident last year, I think it was, where we had a child that fell in the lake. They were activated, but it was right near our boat launch, so it was very easy for us to be able to manage that. But we're fortunate enough not to have too many occasions to have that happen, but we do have a plan in place. I mean, their initial response, we can bring out our boat, be a support arm for them. They do side scan sonar, which is one of the more popularly used, ways of finding people in the event that it is a tragedy and is a recovery and not a rescue. But we do make sure that we make that association with them, just like we did with law enforcement. Because back to your question, Lou, about are we trained in it? It's more just recognition. Yeah. We cannot do any sobriety testing or anything like that because, as you know, from this being an attorney, that would never hold up because it's not who we are. And we had that lengthy discussion with law enforcement last week. Again, as a preventative maintenance situation, luckily we don't have much of any activity with that on the lake, and we're very fortunate. We don't go prying into red Solo cups, as I always say. It's what's only obvious in front of us. But I think everybody's respective of that, and they do enjoy the lake. That they can actually have pizza and other food delivered to our pier and pull their boat up and be able to enjoy the local bill of fare and everything else and have a nice evening out there. And that's the beauty of that lake, is it is a very calming environment for people to enjoy.
Yeah, I've spent many weekends there when I was younger, when the kids were younger. We used to love going there.
Yeah. How big is the Ranger program? How many members are there?
We have 5 on our team. It is a part-time seasonal job. They typically work about a 5-hour shift on a daily basis. So we split the day in half. We're typically on the lake from 10:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night, 8 or 8:30 at night, just depends on the evening. Throughout the entire summer, we, obviously we have our rain days and things like that, but we're pretty on top of everything. Mark has set up a really nice program of just maintenance within our own operation. Just as a sense of pride, and they wear a shirt that's got Park District logo on it and that type of stuff, so that they're recognizable. So it's over the years, what we've tried to do is professionalize it, but make it enjoyable. Like Mark said, he doesn't need to own a boat; he can just go out there and drive ours, and cool off for the day and enjoy it. So again, truly something that everybody has access to, really, in the area, and we get a lot of non-residents who have use our launch. A lot of fishermen, they enjoy that. That's probably one of the toughest things to manage, is who owns the lake at that point in time, of between fishermen and boaters. We do have some early water skiers that will go out at 7 o'clock in the morning. They are allowed to do that. That's our start time as far as them using that, but it's typically pretty quiet at that time.
One thing I'd like to jump in with is one of the things that makes it very enjoyable for me, and I keep coming back year after year, is the colleagues I've had. Tim goes out and he looks for good people to replace others who turn over from time to time. This year we have Suzanne, we have Jake, and we have Ricky, who joined us. Christian helped to train them. And the nice thing for them is, as young people, they learn some skills that they might not all otherwise gain. Obviously, the boating skills, the safety, the responsibility of looking out for the safety of others. And, that's something they'll help them throughout their life too. So
Right.
If anybody is young and looking for a really top-notch gig for their summer, this is it.
Yeah, for a short period of time, it's kind of faded because you get turnover in staff, but we actually reached out to College of Lake County with their law enforcement program. And we were looking for young people that were in that program so that what they could start to be able to gain in the way of confidence in dealing with people, basically, making sure ordinances are followed. So it was putting them in an uncomfortable environment to make them comfortable with what they could end up with for a law enforcement career. We had some success with it. It dropped off. We thought we had a couple of community service officers, which many people know that term of, it's kind of that entry level. You're not armed with with a firearm, that entry level position that a lot of the communities have around here for some of the basic calls. And it's proven. We actually had one community service officer who's now a law enforcement officer, and part of the training that he received from us gave him credentialing for the ability to, go through his interviews and talk about the fact that he's got some experience with dealing with people in a rather unique situation. So that life experience that we gain with that, we're hoping that we can try to rebuild that. It kind of faded a little bit during COVID, obviously because everything was remote learning, didn't have as much
Right.
contact with students and things like that. Now that we're back to a level of normalcy, or at least what we knew is
What
a
we
norm.
think it is.
Yeah, it's we're
Normal?
Right.
Do we have that anymore?
I don't know.
That is, yeah. But we're going to resurrect that next year. That's going to be one of the goals that we have in order to do that, so that we kind of have that, because we know we're going to have rolling stock every year. I mean, like I said, I'm so fortunate with Mark and Christian that they have been here as long as they have. It really gives credibility to the program, and it makes my life a lot easier from a program coordinator standpoint.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me break in and say it's 6:30 here in Round Lake Beach. You're listening to the Cert Present Show. We're on Thursday nights from 6 to 7, usually on an every other Thursday basis. Although since we missed one, we're going to try to get back on next
Next
Thursday.
week. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I know we have people backed up waiting to get on air. So we'll get that extended out. And there's so much going on, especially seems the storm season is really starting early. Hurricanes may, in fact, be impacting the Gulf Coast areas. And just want to say, we tell people, if you're watching live coverage, and we were talking a little bit about the tsunami and the earthquake in Alaska and a lot of the flooding fires that you see, but when you hear what they say, take this as a precaution, do this or that, especially with the flooding now, most recently in Texas, there were people that tried to drive through standing water incredibly, and no.
They didn't know how high it was, and you can't tell until you're in there. And I would say never underestimate the power of water.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just so strong.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you're interested in becoming a lake ranger with the park district, how do you do that?
Pretty much it's an online, and this is the hardest part, it's an online application process because of the size of the seasonal workforce for the park district. I mean, we go to an orientation, and when you see the number of lifeguards that we have, it's just absolutely amazing because of Barefoot Bay, not to mention Diamond Lake Beach.
Yeah.
But it is an online process. They will advertise usually in about January, and you can also register to get updates and notifications of what positions are open at any point in time of the year. I mean, the park district does survive on a lot of seasonal employees or part-time employees, retirees. It's their book of business when you look at staffing. So that's something that we do every year. We'll advertise that, and then they can apply. But certainly, I have a Mundelein Park District email address. It's tsashko, SASHKO at mundeleinparks.org. I'll love to have emails and have this, a flood of people that are interested in this, much earlier than the waiting till next year, because it is kind of weird to be talking to people about boating in January in Chicago. It's like, do what? No, I don't think so.
Not interested. Yeah.
Also, we've had them on over the years, the men and women from Coast Guard Auxiliary.
Yep.
And I know they have the boat safety class. We haven't had them on in a couple of years to talk about. We try to bring them in once a season when, we hit April and May. But if boaters out there, that should be all online now. I think they used to do some live classes or at least live streaming. But if you're at all considering boating, take the Coast Guard Auxiliary class. Yeah.
The state's got a really good program too. If you just Google, the website's kind of doesn't match the title, but if you Google the Illinois Safe Boaters class, that is a program that, quite frankly, there are regulations, laws within the state of Illinois that under 18 years of age, you have to do that class. And then if you were born after 1998, I think 1998 or 99, which of course now we're getting into people that are, 25, 26, 27 years old. They
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it blows my mind when I think about that. So they are required by state law to operate. Even if you have a motor vehicle license, you cannot operate a boat without taking that class. So we make sure all of our rangers go through it, and then we will periodically check that, especially with the youth on the lake, with the personal watercraft, to make sure that mom and dad have followed that, because it's one of those unknowns when you buy, these I've purchased many boats. Nobody ever tells you about that.
Yeah.
I mean, the dealers don't tell you, by the way, this is what you need to do. Probably one of those things that need to partner with them on. But that is critically important, because what you learn, even watching the videos and the different, angles of attack, as I always call it, when you're dealing with wind and stuff like that our rangers are familiar with on the lake, it does kick up out there because it is small, but it's very wide open. And it's really good to go through that training and make sure you've got that. But and we have a member of that Coast Guard Auxiliary, Ron Atikonis, that lives on the lake, and he's worked with our rangers before with training and things like that.
Yeah,
you can never have enough training. I mean, I took a motorcycle training class at CLC, and it made me a better driver in the car, because you just pick up stuff that you don't think about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the training program is really many-fold. I mean, before anybody goes out on the lake, we make sure they've had the Illinois training. They're CPR certified.
Right.
They're trained in other safety matters. When Christian and I take people out onto the lake, we, of course, teach them how to run the boat. Some people say, I can never be a ranger. I've never boated before, but we'll take somebody who's new to the boating and we'll train them how to operate the boat and operate it safely and how to instruct others to do it safely as well.
Hmm.
And then we also provide training on how to interact with our guests on the lake. So they feel welcome, they feel safe.
Yeah.
Is there an age limit on the training? An age limit on the training? Like the age limit that you can train to be a ranger?
Oh, over 21.
Over
Yeah,
21.
it's 21 or over. Yeah.
Not a limit.
No,
Up to.
no,
there's no
I don't
cutoff.
believe so. I'd have to look and see. I don't know.
Lou, we should do that.
Well, no, we should. It would be fun, especially since I've been struggling with the new boat I bought recently this year. But finally, the manufacturer admitted some of the wiring was bad, so that helped. But I was very encouraged, and I won't get into too many details because I don't want to get sidetracked. But my new boat came with several safety features that I was very happy to see, and such as a automatic cutoff. You have to be tied into it. I forget what it's called. So the operator, if that loses contact, the boat will shut down. It came with its own fire extinguisher in there. They didn't want to hand it over the manufacturer until they said, "Where's your life vest?" And of course, I had a good supply of those. The other thing, unfortunately, experience teaches us is when you hear the sirens and you're out on the lake. Those are not optional, correct?
Well, one thing we don't have is sirens.
Oh,
so ours
okay.
is line of sight, visual contact. We were talking with the Lake County Sheriff, they rarely use theirs. They do have them, obviously, because they can do that. But a lot of times they just use the universal sign of your hand across your throat of knock it down, and that's it. And certainly they probably have a little bit easier time of drawing attention than we do. But our boaters they know we're there. Like Mark said, we try to build a partnership with them. The homeowners associations that are on the lake, Ron Salsky meets with them every year before the season and go over anything that's changed, whether it's fee structures for getting the registration, because you do have to register if you're not somebody that lives on the lake. The lake proper people do not have to register their boats. A lot of them do it out of courtesy. But then the people that are using our launch, which is a gated launch, it's private, they do have to register their boats. So
now the town's thunderstorm, tornado, severe weather sirens will be heard.
Oh yes,
if you are on the lake. And so if you hear those, there's only one choice at that point, folks.
Yeah, that part. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and
Immediately hit in.
Yeah, the Rangers are really good too. They'll monitor weather, and Mark's had this experience. I've had this experience where we will go clear the lake. I mean, we'll notify them.
So if there's something coming.
It's their, it is certainly their decision as to what they actually do. The other thing we have that's unique on that lake is there's an airplane that resides on the lake.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Plane.
Oh.
Yeah. So periodically what we'll have to do is actually clear the boaters. He'll come out and he will putter around. It's an old Piper. I think it dates back to the late 50s, early 60s. It's been on the lake for many, many, many years. And so we will be a guide for that and make sure we kind of clear the runway and allow him to have a safe passage, both taking off and landing. So it's a rather unique situation.
Wow. 30 plus years in Mundelein, and
you didn't know you had a plane.
I'm thinking back. I may have seen it, in air, but in float plane could be coming and going from other.
Yeah, it's about the only all white float plane that is in the area.
I've never landed on a lake.
Wow.
Yeah, my kids have. They've been up to Wisconsin and landed on a lake up there, but yeah, I didn't know that.
It's
unique. We
had
that.
Yeah,
it was a great experience. I live on the lake, so he tooled by my house one time and asked if anybody wanted to go for a flight. So being a pilot myself, I jumped at the opportunity.
Right. It is cool. Wow. It is cool.
You know, you had your pilot's license too. Wow. Yeah. And again, from being here with guys like Terry and Tim over the years, we learned come winter, bodies of water also have some other issues, and the ice gets a little bit thin, but people tend to want to go out on them for various reasons. Now, are there rangers around during the winter?
No,
or-
that's we don't have that much activity. That lake, when you look at it, probably only has an average year. It's been so different around here lately. I mean, Diamond Lake didn't
been
freeze
warmer.
over till way late in the season.
Right.
And then as they call it, ice out occurred fairly quick. I think there was maybe 3 or 4 weeks that you actually could be on the water, Mark. Or on the ice, I should say. It's not water at that point in time, but you living on the lake, I think that was about what we saw this year, wasn't it?
Yes, not too many weeks this year, but it varies by year. Some years we've gotten a really nice coverage of lake, and we'll have a lot of fishermen and snowmobiles and people on cross country skis. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We even have wind surfers or
Ah,
whatever
okay.
we call ice
Yeah.
boats.
Yeah,
I suppose so.
suppose,
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but we've never ever, the park district has never ever taken it upon themselves to take on that responsibility over the winter months.
Yeah, because unfortunately, it seems I'm going to say you guys probably know the numbers, but what 2 to 3, 4 incidents in Lake County every year where the local fire department has to go out and fish somebody out of the
Primarily on
water.
the chain, right? I mean that's
Yeah.
and that it's just they're running the river. You get different currents, so it's frozen here, not there, and unfortunately that does happen every year. I don't think we've had. I think they've had to fish them out, but it's been a while since I think we've had a fatality since.
Well, that's good. It won't-
Tara, yeah. I'm sorry.
I said it won't be me. You won't drag me on the
Yeah.
ice in the winter.
Yeah.
Have you heard any incidents? I don't think there were any last winter, which is again
It was
encouraging.
quiet. It was quiet. But again, that's kind of like the boating situation. I mean, snowmobiling's kind of, there hasn't been that much snow around here. Even when you go up into Wisconsin, I know they've been struggling the last several years of not having a lot of snow. So it's one of those that looks great when it's sitting in the garage, but it's not a lot of fun.
Right. There's enough training videos of how to rescue people off ice and how to
Yeah.
get out of the ice or out of the lake if you
Without a
fall
doubt.
in.
Yeah.
So
without a
maybe, mitigate that and do that ahead of time so if something happens, what to do.
Countryside has a pretty good video on that. I recall
911
they
first
did.
Yeah.
and then try and rescue them.
Yeah.
But make
They've
sure
got
you
that
call
hover-
that number
They got the
first.
hovercraft
they got
too.
the
Yeah.
hovercraft,
They got the
Yeah.
hovercraft,
which has been deployed on Diamond Lake before. I mean, it's been used. So.
Oh, that is good to hear. But so come winter with all the bodies of water, it's not over. And it seems one thing that is, ice fishing seems to be growing in popularity for some reason.
They pull some big ones out of there.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do. It is.
Yeah.
And that lake is, the DNR does stock Diamond Lake. There is a regular program out there. So it is a very healthy lake when it comes to, the ability to have the fishery and stuff like that. So we've watched them pull up with their trucks and put all the fingerlings in there. And it's amazing to see when you don't realize when they say, yeah, we just put 50,000 fish in there. And it's kind of like, boop, and then it's done. So.
Oh, God. I'll throw it to Jill or Terry for one more boat ranger question before we get into some of the other things these guys are doing. They're amazing, right?
They are amazing.
Mark just tells me he's got his pilot's license tonight.
Right. Yeah, I don't really have any questions. You guys have filled us in with everything, really. Everything that you do and when you do it and, the information if people want to join and do this.
One thing I'd like to comment on is one thing Tim does at the end of the year is he gets all the rangers together. And of course, the idea is to improve the program year after year. And so we'll all have the opportunity to tell them what worked, what didn't work. And then the park district goes to work on improving things.
Okay. Well, Terry, anything before we move on topics because we got about 6:45 and we go up to about 7, so we want to talk about some of the other amazing stuff these guys are involved in.
Well, with Mark, if you remember back in
He's not that old, Terry.
We won't put out names or numbers.
1927. No.
They remodeled the Eanes Highway, and all state insurance hired me to invent a motorcycle program
Yep.
to teach motorcycles how to get in and get to the patients and hand them over the fence to the ambulances outside.
Yeah, I think we talked about you talked about that with one of our guests once.
And so Allstate Insurance is the ones that sponsored that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they've always taken a proactive role in promoting safety, for motorists, homeowners, motorcyclists, even people who ride bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Pedestrians. I was on the phone with somebody today. Pedestrian versus car on it. Yeah.
Like train versus pedestrian.
Oh no,
just-
train versus pedestrian. We don't even want to get into.
Yeah.
We
Had
need
enough of
to.
that.
That's a whole nother show. That should be
Yeah.
another show.
We ought to call up the guys from Project
We
Lifesaver.
should. Right.
Yeah. The program.
Because
That's important. People with their headphones and, expecting one train and then that train goes by and then there's a second train, that kind of thing. So, yeah,
and
Tim-
London.
that's big.
Tim still has a little bit to say about the program,
Oh, the veterans program.
the veterans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Tim, again, you retired as fire chief 10 years ago, and you've been busier than ever. And one of the things is your work with veterans and the rucksack march that's coming up in September.
In September 13th, and we're moving this year because we're going to be bigger and better. It's at Nippersink Forest Preserve. We were across
Right
from
down the road from me.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of the one that's across from College Lake County where we were last year. It's escaping me, but Nippersink is what we want to remember this year. Actually, the Lake County Veterans and Family Services Foundation unfortunately had the unfortunate loss of Paul Baffico, their executive director, just a couple of years ago. And what's going to happen is it's going to merger with the Veterans Path to Hope, which is a really wonderful program, much more expansive and has a lot more in the way of touch points. But as a quick reminder, the Ruck March is designed to be an awareness program for all of us to appreciate our military, because we still have, while the numbers are down, we haven't heard new statistics, but we're here, they're down, that we had 22 veterans a day that were committing suicide and falling to that, victim to that, in even, a non-war era of the challenges that are going on. And we want to raise awareness to that. The foundation itself is very instrumental in reindoctrinating our veterans back into civilian life, and has so many different support programs with job, sourcing and things like that. So it will be all, pretty much all day that Saturday on the 13th. We'll kick off in the morning. You can go to, and I'm looking down at my notes here, it's lcvetsfoundation.org. So LCVETS foundation.org, and all the information is up there for you to be able to be a participant. We have a virtual version of this again this year that was born out of when we were going through COVID and we couldn't assemble for the Ruck March. And hopefully we will be able to generate enough funding to keep our what's called a dry hooch in Gray's Lake open, which is a coffee drop-in center for where a lot of the counseling goes on and a lot of the assistance for our veterans. And it's a tough outreach. It is a different group now. As we get through the post, there aren't too many World War II veterans left, as we know, as we watch nationally with, honor flights going out, are now more focusing on the Korean vets, which are now starting to get very old, and Vietnam vets. But it is this group, this newer group, that is tough to source. It's like they provide their service, and when they get back into civilian life, they're still dealing with what they went through in the military. So hopefully we can raise public awareness to that. And the one thing you can do is by supporting that type of a program, because the VA doesn't do that. A lot of things that the federal government is not involved with support of our military post-career. So we hope that we really can spark a great group. We want to get a lot of high school students out there this year walking. We have plenty of volunteers. This is where, it's always good to say you want to volunteer and help out for that day, but it's pretty easy to run a march. The wearing a ruck, which is a backpack, is symbolic of the burden. We tell people you don't have to do that, but if you want to, if you're so inclined, putting that weight on your back like our military personnel do when you see them all packed up and they've got close to 40 some odd pounds of weight on them for all their supplies they have. Think about that in the mental version of the burden that they have with dealing, these post-traumatic issues that they deal with after they get out of the military. So again, it's on September 13th. Go to lcvetsfoundation.org and you can register, get all kinds of groups. We want to do as many things. Mark, being with Fremont Township CERT, our CERT teams are involved with that. The Medical Reserve Corps is involved with that through the Lake County Health Department that coordinates that. So we have a great cadre of foundational people to be able to get this off. So we want hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people to show up and just walk. You can walk 1 mile, walk 2 miles. It doesn't make a difference.
I was going to say, how long is the march?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, why we moved to Nippersink this year is it's got smaller circles. A lot of the Lake County Forest Preserves are built on circles, and so we wanted to have a little bit more intimacy. We found that sometimes in the past it's after people went and left. And our first one was walking from North Chicago to Grays Lake on about 104-degree day. So I mean, we were literally having to people had shoes melting coming down Grand Avenue. But now that we're in the Forest Preserve setting, we've got a much more intimate format. And everybody can just come and again, put the time in that you want to, because it's really more the donation, the backside of it. People can do the mileage sponsorships, however they want to do it. There's a registration fee because it's kind of skin in the game, right? You know that you're going to be there.
There's a nice little shade there too. I walk there a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of shade. It's really nice.
Yeah. Lake County
Really nice
Forest Preserve has been a great partner with us in trying to find the best location. It's just been great.
Yeah. In fact, just mentioned because I saw it the other day or just today coming in, I think yesterday too, a new grant that Lake County Forest Preserves received from Lake County Stormwater Management to, improve one of the preserves. But that was certainly good news because the Forest Preserves just an extraordinary organization. Not to mention the fun that we all had, our group had the other night out at Independence Rail.
Yeah.
But the dog walks that they have available, and we're fortunate. They're underused, even though that on it. But Mark, what planes do you fly?
First of all, I'm not as active as my son. He flies for Delta now.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
He
wow.
did 20 years with the Navy and
All right.
flew I think 38 or 39 missions over Afghanistan.
Whoa.
And but I just pick up a flight every now and then
Okay.
with somebody who's current.
You own an aircraft or?
No, never have.
Okay, I didn't know it. Now like he's our cert pilot or something.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Cert Airlines.
The
There you
Cert
go, Lou.
Airlines.
Got a new division that we got to get started.
Buy that airplane. I'll certainly get current.
We've all taken lessons from Campbell Airport because we back onto Campbell Airport.
Sure.
And the guy's like, well, why don't you buy a plane? You live right there. I'm like, oh, well, we'll just buy a plane. My dad used to be a pilot, but we never had a plane. We didn't have one. But yeah, I'll leave that to professionals, I think.
Can I mention one other thing, Lou? Because you were talking about
you
the
can mention
Texas-
three
Okay.
other things.
Well,
Although we only have a few minutes,
yeah, a few
but
minutes. Right.
let's try to get them all in.
A quickie plug. No, it's one more quickie plug because you mentioned the Texas floods and coming from, Terry and I having careers in public safety. It's amazing how much, again, stress when you talk about our military, the stress it puts on the first responders. One of the groups, there is a local restaurant, and I think this is important because we always try to find credible places that you can donate. And while you can do it with the Red Cross, and I don't discourage that and things like that, there is a group that's called Mercy Chefs that provides a lot of the foods, not only to families, but all the first responders and the people that are down there. Because like you say, you've got CERT teams going down there, and you think about logistics and one of the things that, Terry and I have gone through the fire service with training. And when you're a logistics officer, I mean, it's a very big thing to manage that. Hits Pizza and Sports Bar in Mundelein did a fundraiser last week where they donated all their proceeds to that. They still have an active campaign going that if you want to drop off, preferably cash, but you can do checks, that they're going to make all the donations to the Mercy Chefs program so that they can continue to foster and support the first responders that are down there. And that's military, that's National Guard, everybody that's down there, CERT teams. So in case anybody's looking for anything where they can feel like they can have a local touch going towards something that they can, is very specific and not as broad based. You can stop by there at 700 South
The
Butterfield
Butterfield
Road.
Road. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know where that is. Yeah.
Also, one of the things, this is a bit memorable because the time became memorable. I think you were very active through your role with the Department of Public Health in rolling out the 211 number
Yes.
just as COVID was appearing, and that's certainly been a big success since it was introduced here in
huge.
Lake County.
Huge. We just had a meeting recently. I'm still on the advisory board, and the number of people in the county still using it. In fact, really from a statistical standpoint, I won't memorize all the numbers, but we launched it just before COVID. Obviously, timing is everything, and that wasn't planned. None of us saw COVID coming, although we did.
No.
The health department trained in 2007 for that very incident, believe it or not. So we were forward thinking enough, but they 211 is still very successful through United Way. We actually have been the catalyst in Lake County. I want to give kudos to Steve Carlson. He's a former county board member, was very active with getting it statewide. And we now only have a couple counties in the state of Illinois that are not, that don't have 211 programs. And that's a very important because Illinois and Arkansas were the last two states out of 50 that didn't have
It was amazing
a
when
211 program. So the state is looking at potential funding for it. There's still going to be a lot of local ownership from a standpoint of finance commitment, and the Chair Hart and the county board has been very generous with making sure that that has been stood up and stays stood up. So the philanthropy is still in the background of that, but the program has served the community like you would not believe. And we just got done celebrating that back in June, and it will continue to go from here. But I'm always so proud about what Lake County has done with setting the tone. We did it for Tobacco 21 for the state. You know, we were the first ones to have a countywide ordinance, and then the state adopted it, you know, no smoking under 21. And now we had this with 211. So that's kudos to all the Lake County people that are involved with that.
So I was going to say, remind people what 211 is for. Is there anything for non-emergent?
Is the non-emergent social service network, you know, so for housing and food and all those different things that are the normal life needs. That's what 211 is there for. The city has a version of it, City of Chicago 311. You know, 211 is branded by United Way across the country. So that is the, you know, the general throughput. We also are working on a little bit of a structure of database sharing, where if you are somebody that's used 211 in Illinois and you happen to move down to Louisiana and you need to use 211, that will track with you what your background is in that. So we're really trying to do this on a national basis and really build that up over time.
Well, great. Guys, I couldn't have asked for a better show and better guest, really. We feel very lucky. I mean, we've talked about some of the people and guests and organizations that have been in over the years, but we were able to cover so much. I mean, in depth on the park ranger program, plus all the other wonderful things that you guys do and volunteer. So tell me when you want to be back.
Next week, right?
Yeah, we'll create that. We hope to be back here the 20th, but there's still another week beyond that in July. So we'll have another show in July for sure. One of the Thursdays or another. So I gotta cut it off. Mark, Tim, thank you guys. Terrific.
Thank you, Lou.
Keep us advised. Jill and Terry, I'm blessed to be with you each and every time. And thank you guys for listening. You can watch again on YouTube if you need. So,
or you can turn on the radio.
Old-fashioned way.
The old-fashioned way. Right.
All right, everybody. Good night. We'll see you next week, we hope. Take care.
Take care.